do I see AI taking the Medicare agent away? No. Do I see that it will help a lot of enrollments in a lot of different ways and navigate calls and point the agents in the right directions? Absolutely.
All right, so today, Jagger, we're having a little conversation. I know everybody's talking about it. It's a constant thing that comes up all the time is AI this, AI that, how people talk about it's going to take jobs, it's going to change the world. And I think it is in a lot of ways. I don't think it's there yet in most cases. We've been using AI or machine learning techniques for years. I think the first place that we've kind of started using it is with our lead scoring and things along those lines. What have we been doing with that? What are some of the things that we look at when it comes to what is lead scoring, or just generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely let's go back and just talk about taking our jobs first and foremost, right? Let's just talk about AI just in general, because I'm scared of it. I say this to the team all the time that at some point AI is going to get so good that, it's going to be better than the salespeople on the phones, right? It's going to be better than what I do to do what I do. The good news is if you leverage AI in a way, you could kind of, go with it versus being behind the curve. If you're not doing anything with AI today, and true AI, like you said, right? There's people that say AI, and they've been saying AI for years. It hasn't been AI. It's either been machine learning or just building like prompts and processes and stuff like that to
automations that people are calling AI.
They call it AI. That's not AI. True AI is what OpenAI is, what Grok is today. But just to give you my 2 cents on where I see, do I see AI taking the Medicare agent away? No. Do I see that it will help a lot of enrollments in a lot of different ways and navigate calls and point the agents in the right directions? Absolutely. I hope CMS, I hope Medicare ultimately, and this is not just in Medicare, this is life insurance. This is all lines of insurance for us. I hope they ultimately put a kaput where you can't have an AI do an actual enrollment. Do I see that coming? Yeah. I mean, they've definitely talked about it. I do see it. The good news is in the Medicare market is the fact that 10 years ago, 90% of people were still using their landline phones, right? So it takes a long time for our market to adapt. 10 years ago, they were barely searching on the internet. Fast forward, they're there. So we've got some
paper apps.
They were paper apps, right? 10 years ago.
What, you had to mail them out to people and hope they got them and hope they mailed them back in a week.
My dad's 65 today, right? No, he just turned 66. 66. You ask him what AI is, he barely knows how to use Google, let alone AI. So we've got a while in the Medicare space, I think, before any of us have to worry about losing our jobs. So, I want to start there.
I actually tried this out. So both ChatGPT and Grok have their voice, where you can talk to them, right? And I tried it out the other day. I wrote a prompt about how somebody is, you're a expert in the Medicare field. You're an agent with all these years of experience, yada, yada, yada. And I went through it and then I started talking to it. And I was like, sell me a Medicare policy. I didn't say Medicare supplement. I didn't say Medicare Advantage. And it jumped in. It was like, oh, great. Medicare is wonderful. And by the way, you should get a Plan G, or there's also this Plan N. Those are the two most. And it was it's at a point now where it knows a lot, but it can't conversate in a way that it doesn't have that personal feel yet. I think it'll get there. But what I said, didn't you kind of jump ahead a little bit? You don't even know anything about me. You don't even know my name. You don't know why I need a Medicare policy. If I need a Medicare policy, I was like, oh, you're right. What's your name? And so like, I had to like kind of coax it along. So I agree. I think it will eventually get to a place where it's smart enough and you can train it on your own agents' conversations and
And
things.
that's going to be the bigger piece of it is, right? So to your point, like it's smart enough to know the education piece of it. It knows right from wrong, but it doesn't know how to talk, like your agents or like you. So, and we'll get further into this in the conversation, but we actually now we were just like everybody else, we record 100% of our calls, but we actually have AI listen to 100% of our calls. So we got LLM that ultimately now we got all of this data that's out there and we can say, hey, we want you to answer this question the way that our agent would answer that question. Right. And we can leverage AI now to go in and say, one of the top rebuttals that we get, objections that we get is, I want a local agent, right? I want a local agent, right? Well, we can ultimately go in and look at, well, what are the responses that our agent gets to get through that objection that then results in a continued conversation or even a sale. And then we can grab that and then go teach our agents as well. But we'll get there a little bit here in a few minutes.
Now, I think we're already kind of utilizing this on the agent side of things. We're not anywhere near the customer facing point, but we are utilizing it to better train our agents in a more real world, because everybody's used to role playing and, hey, get on and role play with your manager and things along those lines, right? It's what we've done forever in the insurance business. Go sit in another room and I'll call you and then we're going to act like it. And I have to pretend like I'm, Betty and I'm 73 and have a heart condition. But now we can actually train up our own model and have these different responses, have a smart conversation with our agents. And so I think that's one of the things that we've been doing recently that's really cool is when our agents are having issues with script adherence, they're not following along, maybe they miss a part. And, like you said, we're listening to our calls, we're grading our calls. And then with all of that information, we can go, hey, agent number 10, it really is having a hard time with, that.
It is scary how good it is. Let's go back to just lead scoring. So we I brought you off topic. Let's go back to lead scoring. So what we considered AI before AI was AI, right? Open AI. And again, it was more machine learning. We've been doing lead scoring now for about 7 years. And what we do is once a lead comes in off of our website, we go reach out to a third-party company, which those that work with us know what that third-party company is. We go grab a whole bunch of third-party data from that company, income levels, what type of home that they own, are they married? Do they have children? Do they have this? Now we've got a whole bunch of third-party data with all of our first-party data. So we know that they came in from Google, they came in from this campaign, they were on this device at this time, right? And we compile all that information and we ultimately say, okay, well, what's the likelihood that it's going to close? Okay, we give it at a 0 to 100% or 100 score. And then ultimately we leverage on how we dial that lead, or not. We don't route leads differently to different people. That's something we've talked about. We may test that out at some point. But the biggest thing is if we've got 10 leads that came in at roughly the same given time, okay, and because any given time we have about 200 to 300 leads, brand new leads sitting in queue, right, that have not been dialed. Well, do I want to call something, Curt, that's got a 10% chance of closing, or do we want to call something that got a 79% closing because of all the data that we ultimately have, right?
Well, before you go on, how do we get to that 10% versus 79%? Is it looking at our current client, our book of business, and then grading off
100%. It's looking at historical data. If you did have the historical data with all those metrics and all those KPIs and everything there, and then it goes and looks at it and says, okay, well, hey, this came in. What was the end result on that? and running a whole bunch of different models and variations. And this is stuff that's way over my head. We got some really smart people that do that internally here. And then it says, okay, well, after looking at historical data, years worth of data, then it says, okay, well, what's the likelihood that we're going to close it based upon now leveraging all the other third party, all the first party data in there. And we retrain the models, I think 3 times a year. Don't quote me on that, but I think we retrain the data, look at it, and might tweak something here or there and do like an A/B test with it. But we've had it going for a while, and I mean it's very successful.
Now, one of the things that I think a lot of people need to realize is we just for compliance purposes and tracking and, TCPA issues, we have all of this data and we've been keeping it, for all these years because we have to for, like I said, compliance issues. But it's kind of the lesson learned from Facebook and Google. People don't realize that the data is the important thing. And people didn't realize that Facebook, oh, it's great, it's going to connect you with your families. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize that data is the new oil. Well, just because we started doing it for compliance issues and for, being able to make sure that we're not going to run into any issues of foul with TCPA, we had to track all of that stuff. And now that technology has gotten to the place where it is today, now we can start utilizing that. And so I think it's an important lesson for all the agency owners out there. For one, you should be keeping all this data just for the compliance side of things, and so you don't get your face sued. But the value that you can, pull out of all of that data, it's maybe just sitting in a hard drive somewhere that you never thought was any value to you except for a safety issue. But now you can start looking at it as an asset for your team, so that you can, start really scoring your leads beyond what other, because there's all these out of the box lead scoring things. And those lead scoring things are looking at just simply, hey, what's the income level? Oh, people over, people with this level of education, this income, they're probably going to buy a Medicare supplement over a Medicare Advantage or whatnot. And that's kind of true, but it's also not.
And it's getting so easy. Like it was so complicated for us to go build that 5 years ago, right? It's very easy today, right? To go build a prompt, to go look at all this data, and you can use it not just for what we're doing ultimately is saying, hey, what lead are we going to dial before, the next lead, but also, hey, what ancillary? Again, we're 60, I think we're at 66 or 67% attach rate on our core Medicare this year, which is huge. But you can use it and say, hey, does this person look like they should buy a cancer, heart attack, and stroke, a hospital indemnity, a whatever other ancillary short-term care policy from us, a life insurance policy from you, and it can spit that out to you and say, yeah, this person, fits in based upon what we know from first party data and third party data. We should be offering this. We're not there yet. We are looking at it. We've got all the data there. We just got to create a model, right, to ultimately do that. And that's something in the future that we definitely want to do with the whole kind of lead scoring / product scoring / getting that information out there to the agents. But right now we're very unbiased. Like we know this person makes less than $30,000 a year. They're probably not going to be buying a Med Sup that's, $150, $160 a month. And it just shows. I mean, we know we got a 90% certainty based upon their demographics, based upon their income, based upon the first party data that we have. We have a 90% certainty whether they're going to buy a Med Sup or buy an MA. We don't transfer that to the agents today, and I don't know if I ever will, because of the fact that I want them to go A to Z. Medicare, original Medicare, here's a Med Sup, here's a Medicare Advantage, right? Do fact finding, do needs analysis, do all that type of stuff. And then, it's very crazy, but again, 90% of the time, right, we're going to place that person with the product that we feel like the AI, that the machine learning / AI would have done anyways.
It's super important for us to, as a management team, as leadership, we want all of our team members, our agents, to educate, go through, follow the process, and not just kind of jump ahead. And so there is a balance of, what information do you give the agents versus what you don't. Can you make them even smarter, or are you actually kind of hurting yourself? So I think that's kind of an important thing to think about, is even though we know 90% of the time this person's going to buy a MA plan, we don't want to just have the agent immediately pitch the MA plan.
And the biggest, it's rapport, right? You want to build rapport with that individual. You want to educate them, right? There's too many shops that are out there, that they're dual eligible. They have an MA. Okay, we're just going to go right into MA. What benefits do you like? Can we replace that shopping, that grocery card or that dental benefit or whatever else? Like, those guys, sorry. I have some friends that are going to watch this that do that. I'm sorry, but I'm over those shops that just do that. So, I mean, this kind of leads really into the next piece of this, which in my opinion is going to be the biggest game changer for us, is script adherence, right? And the way that we use the script adherence is exactly, Curt, what you were just going into. It's are they following the process more than anything else, right? It's we've got a playbook of, hey, you've got to go through all these checkpoints all the way down to the sale. And are they following the process?
And that's super important when we talk about scaling. When you're a shop and you've got 4 or 5 agents, you can overhear, you can, listen in on calls, maybe whisper in and things along those lines. But once you start scaling and you get to, where we're at today, I don't know how many hours we talk on the phone at EIP on a daily basis.
6 hours per day per agent is our goal. I believe it's between 5.5. I think it's 5.5 hours per day per agent is what our goal is.
And so you do the math on that. We're talking 600-700 hours a day of calls.
Yeah.
That you can't have a management team big enough to listen to that.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a manager for every agent, right?
Yeah.
And so having the computer, having the models be able to listen and grade calls and then pick out the pain points, not just the pain points that the clients have, but the pain points that our agents have. Where are our agents falling off? Is it, is this agent just not doing enough on the education side? Or are they kind of explaining how Medicare works? And so all of those things are letting us be able to focus a little bit better on the people that need help and the places that they need help, not just the person that needs help, but where they need help. Because it's not, just this person's terrible at everything. It might just be that little piece that, all they need to do is
finding is the biggest one for us. They're just not pulling out enough pain points, not asking enough questions, not building enough rapport, right? With fact finding comes rapport. And that's one of the big things that the AI for us ultimately shines. Also tonality, right? Tonality is another big thing that we look at. I'm not going to touch too much on that. Not many shops really look at tonality, but how much somebody's talking over one another, right? Is there any kind of what are some other cool things that I've seen in there recently? One of the bigger things is definitely, what it should be 60-40, I think is the mix, listening 60%, talking 40%. I know I would have to go back and look at our top salespeople, right? And see what they ultimately are, but it's really scary at the end of the call, the summary it gets, and it says, oh, well, this person didn't offer screen share, and here's the reasons why. And it's okay that they didn't offer screen share because that person, because that consumer was pushing back a little bit, right? So they just didn't offer it because, they were already kind of, Mrs. Jones on the other side was a little upset already, versus, somebody that the dialogue's going really well and the agent just skipped it. Well, it tells me specifically, hey, this person, the dialogue was going great. The person just skipped it.
I mean, overall, just on the management side, I think it's huge. And it's going to make your agents better agents if you can give them that more pointed learning and the places that they can improve, because sometimes we just waste time on things that they're good at.
Yeah.
They've already got it, but here's how to turn that person that's a bottom 50% performer, and bring them up to the top 50% and, really level them up. And so I mean, from everything I'm seeing with the different emails that are going back and forth and the different tools that I've seen with us implementing, definitely exciting in terms of what we can do and what we're already doing today. I mean, we've talked about compliance and everything along those lines. It's huge for that as well, because we've got to hit all of our certain talking points. If you're in the MA world, you've got to make sure that you're
Hmm.
following the rules.
And
And
we're
so it's
using different AI technologies for different stuff. Like we've got AI technology just for script adherence and kind of what we call our training profiles. We also have some training profiles that we can into here in a minute. And then we also have the same AI that does kind of our customer service, but we've got a completely separate AI that just listens to the sales portions of the call for compliance.
talk we touched on it earlier, but talk about the training profiles and what you mean by that. Kind of
Yeah.
go into a little bit
So
more into how is
we
it.
as we built out the script adherence, the agent script adherence, we already had a thing called profiles, consumer profiles. So whenever we onboard, whether it be 10 agents or the last class that we just hired that hit the phones last month, or not hit the phones, that started in Medicare 101, we had 37, 39. I think there's 37 in there today. That started with us, and it's hard. You've got 3 or 4 supervisors that are in there any given time. It's hard to role play and listen to every single one, like we said earlier. So what we did is we built profiles, and those profiles have different scenarios, right? Hey, this profile one gave us a didn't want to talk to an agent objection, and they're new to Medicare, and they've got a spouse, and here's a couple of the other scenarios. So we built out profiles, I think 30 different profiles that are out there. So they could do script adherence and just make sure that they're following the script the right way, getting into the CRM, kind of clicking through the CRM and all that. Now we've taken it to the next spot where now we've got AI joining in on the call. Okay, it knows that it's script 5, so it knows what that profile looks at. So now it ultimately, as it's role playing back and forth with AI, right, and they're role playing and they're going back and forth. At the end of the call, it actually gives it a score, right, and it will tell the supervisor at that point, hey, here's all the things that they did really good. Here's the 3 or 4 sections that they didn't do well. So now we can go in there and ultimately go give the attention to those 3 or 4 things. One thing that we're getting ready to implement with this group is they can't actually get into real leads until their scores are above a certain threshold. Once their scores are above a certain threshold, then we will get them into leads. We're spending almost with this group, be spending almost $70,000 a day in advertising. 70.
So you want to make sure that when you're spending that type of money that you're getting a return on it. But with that, if I'm an agent, how does this work? I call a certain number, and then I'm talking to
That's it.
an AI bot.
Talking to an AI bot.
Not
Yep.
a bot that you were used to. It's not an IVR
No.
because it changes.
No, it's true.
It's
Yeah, and it automatically rotates the profile. So we wrote a prompt where it automatically rotates the profiles. And we know behind the scenes, whatever we send it to our AI scoring, right? The scoring model, it knows, hey, this is profile 13. So it's got all that information that's there, but it rotates. We just call it one phone number and it rotates the different profiles. And the supervisors will have them do that multiple days whenever they'll probably get into it this week. Actually, they'll probably start role playing with it this week.
So we use it on the initial training side, but we're also able to utilize it on our ongoing training side as well. And it's not what you were used to in the past where it's just a simple, it's the same response every single time, where okay, I know, and it's kind of boring. It changes up. It's like having a real conversation. And so if an agent, after they've met the profile that they need to meet to be able to get on the phones and start calling our live leads, they're doing well. If we notice, with our script adherence, model that they're falling off in a certain area, hey, you need to now call this model that's working on this particular, rebuttal that you're having trouble with.
We're getting to a point where it'll send over daily recaps to their supervisors. So right now we're working towards a 14-to-1 agent to supervisor ratio. Right now we're at about a 12 to 1. I think we'll probably be able to get to 15 or 16 to 1 whenever we roll all this out. But they'll get a daily email. They know who the AI knows who the bottom performers are. So we not only bring in all the conversations, listen to all the conversations, we layer our CRM data on top of it. So we know, hey, it's Curt's team, right? It's these 12 people on Curt's team over the past 7 days, say 7 days, here's the 3 bottom performers. We can look at those 3 bottom performers, analyze all their calls, and then ultimately say, hey, what is one key takeaway that we want them to work on this week? We then give them that one key takeaway with the supervisor. We train them up. We do some call recordings, or we pull some call recordings of theirs. We then play some call recordings of their peers that are really good in those areas. Okay. And then when we do a follow-up, say a week later, then we can go back to the AI and say, hey, here was the one clear takeaway that we wanted them to slow down their conversation. Okay. Did they do that? And then it will score them, and it'll go review all their calls from the time that we had the coaching, and it'll go tell the supervisor if they actually implemented what we asked them to do. If so, great, then let's move on to another takeaway. If not, repercussions come, right, with that, and then we'll give that clear takeaway again. Pretty cool shit.
It's amazing. I mean, and I think the moral of the story for everybody out there, if you've got an agency, this isn't something that is something that we were able to set up overnight. There's years of having the data and then getting it set up. So if you've got the data, here's a couple takeaways of what we're utilizing, our internal data, how we're leveraging different AI models to then listen to our calls, grade our leads, all sorts of things. You got to kind of start preparing now.
Even if you only have a little bit of data, it's fine. Like script adherence, you could do day one, right? You'd have to get it listening day one, but within a couple weeks, you could build out some models to be able to say, hey, this is exactly what I want to listen for. Did they pitch ancillary? Did they do this? Did they ask about a spouse in the house? Did they do that? Did they do this? Like you could do that within a couple weeks of data. It's not reinventing the wheel. So, some of the people that, are on the brokerage side, some of our downlines, like, they come to us and they ask us these questions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just come work with us, right? If you work with us, we'll give you the playbook. We'll explain to you what we're doing. So it's not going to take you 6, 9, 12 months to go build this out on your own. You work with us. We're going to show you, what we're doing and the cool shit that we're doing. We'll connect you with the people that we're working with. I'd love to tell you we have 100 AI engineers in the office. Kurt, that's not the case. We outsource a lot of this stuff. We've vetted, we've tested, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this already. And we'll spend millions of it, over the next however many years. You work with us on the brokerage side. We'll help you do this type of stuff.
Yeah. And it's ever changing. There's new tools that are coming. There's new ideas, and we can, and we're, we're improving every day with that. And just the ability that you have now, it is one of those things. It's kind of, you don't get run over by the wave, ride the wave.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going with. And you've really got to embrace it. Otherwise you are going to get,
we're very innovative. Even with having almost 200 people in the office now, we're very innovative. We move quick. We can change gears quick, and I know we've only got a few minutes before our noon appointment, but there are a couple other things that we're doing. Customer service, we're doing compliance. I know we touched compliance a little bit. Customer service, I'll paint a picture. Somebody calls in, you got an AI bot that's asking questions again and connects with Salesforce. So we know, hey, this person called in with this DID. So we know this person's name is Curt Graham. We know they have a MedSup. They have a dental policy with us, and they've got a life insurance policy with us. So we'll ask them, hey, what are you calling on? You're calling on your Medicare supplement. Yes. Okay. Well, what do you need with your Medicare supplement? Oh, I need new ID cards. Okay. Well, great. We've built and we're building in more and more capability here where, okay, well, if I could handle it with true AI, not IVR, right? IVR we've had in place for a number of years. It's great. I think we have one of the best IVR systems that are out there today, but we're getting to a point where we're going to just be able to go order those ID cards for that consumer right then and there, not have it talk to a live person. Now, if they say, oh, well, I got a rate increase and I want to talk to somebody. Okay, well, let me gather some information. Okay, I see that your premium was $175.92. What did it go up to? It went up to $220. Okay, well, is there anything else you don't like on your policy? No, I love everything else. Well, great. Now we just created a case. So when we transfer that over to a live person, they've already got all of that in there, right? So now it's just getting right to the point with that consumer to just go help them find another policy. We're even getting to the point now where certain states, right? If we know it's not a birthday rule state, we'll get to a point where we're ultimately asking them some health underwriting questions. If we know that they're going to have to go through underwriting, right? We can ask them some health underwriting questions, make sure we're in compliance, right? We could ask certain subset of questions to pre-qualify them, kind of, right? Again, gets over to a licensed agent, our customer care team, and then we can ultimately, have that right there, help them out, right? And there's some other cool things that we are going to expand on, from there, kind of leveraging hopefully not have to leverage a live person to do some of it. I think that, again, we're talking 5 to 10 years before our clientele, the 65 plus market, really embraces that stuff. But compliance, just going to go right into compliance. Compliance is another big one for us. We've got a team of 3 people in compliance today. Should probably be a lot bigger than that, but we're so good on compliance. We have some of the lowest CTMs, lowest rapid disenrollments. We just do business the right way, right? So even with or without compliance, we just do business the right way. So we don't have to have a huge compliance team. However, our compliance team today only scores 1, maybe 3, depending on how new the agent is, calls a month, right? Because that's just as much as they can do. Well, with the new compliance that we're getting, this is completely different technology. It will know, hey, we sold a MA policy with Humana. It's a PPO. It's H1234 plan. Okay. Here's all the benefits. Here's everything there. Did they go over everything that they needed to make sure that they would have passed a UHC scorecard, right? Or, Humana scorecard or whatever else. And it won't record 1 to 3 a month. It'll record 100% of them. Okay. And then we'll look at that and then we'll put them into different trainings depending on what their score is. We typically look at rank average. If rank average score is 98%, if you fall outside of 85% of rank average, then we'll throw you into a compliance program, right? And that's kind of what we do today. But again, that's on 1 to 3 calls per agent per month, right? Versus being able to score 100.
And again, to just reiterate, it's not a doom and situation with AI. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, we just hired 37 new agents. We're hiring. What we look at it as is we're just making our agents, our supervisors, just that much more productive. But we still need the bodies. We still need more people. We've got to hire more people. So this whole thing that AI is taking jobs, disagree. Yeah. It's giving us the ability to.
It's enabling us to be better. That's all it's doing, right? We didn't talk on ancillary, but one of the biggest things is like, did you not offer ancillary, to this person? If you didn't offer ancillary, that you should have. There's times where it doesn't make sense to offer ancillary. That person says, "Hey, I'm flat broke. I have $0." Well, it doesn't make sense to offer ancillary to that individual. Okay. However, if it does make sense, right, it will tell us that, hey, this person did not offer ancillary. Well, we're creating some cool things now where it will automatically, because our 2 systems communicate with one another. Again, our Salesforce, our CRM, and the AI software that we've built and that we're using, is it'll automatically go create an opportunity for them to follow up with that person, whether it be the same day or the next day, and say, hey, by the way, you didn't offer ancillary. Great job on selling a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage, but you need to call them back and offer them an ancillary. And we're probably about 2 months out. Not even, I'd say 2 to 6 weeks out from getting to that point. And I know we've got this 12 o'clock. So if we want to wrap this thing up.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, exciting stuff. And We've got more to come when it comes down to it. Just the technology, you got to embrace it. It's only going to make you better. And I mean, it's helping us grow in ways that in the past may not have been possible, because now we can just scale in ways that are.
If you're a team of 5 to 500 people, and this intrigues you, have a conversation with us, right? This is why our downlines are working with this. Yeah, we've got an amazing call center, right? Millions and millions of production. Our brokerage team is growing significantly, but this is the reason why people are working with us, because we're giving the information out, but we're giving it out to people that work with us. So love to have a conversation with you. Reach out to us.